Good afternoon, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for coming back, and nice to have you here. So, I have some news to share with you, including the Ethiopian Deputy Prime Minister, Demeke Mokennon, speech to 76 United Nations General Assembly at the end of reading materials. Thank you again. First, I want to appreciate the Selous Oromo community for yesterday's uh, cultural show and Irrecha celebration with different clothing from Harar, Bali, RC, Jimma, all these, plus the cultural food and drink we enjoyed yesterday at St. Louis Animal Zoo. So I want to appreciate again those who organized the event and those who prepared the food, who contributed for this event, for this Recha celebration, and for fun event, especially for our kids. So thank you, the organizers. We appreciate you for your hard work. Thank you. So today is September 27, 2021. Uh, I will start with massive or Oromo Liberation Army uh, graduation ceremony. It is on a video, so I took it. I credited Jarjar to media. So many other medias also, circulating huge number of oil fighters graduating with, nice uh, tactical skills, and it's a show of force against the Prosperity Party. So let's start with that. Then I will go to other news. Thank you again. There you go. There you go. So enjoy it. That's a really encouraging sign for our movement for freedom in Oromia, possibly in Ethiopia. This is the ongoing uh, uh, cultural show plus decorative uh, oil new recruits graduation ceremony and singing different songs of revolution. And they are singing some of the challenges all the fighters are facing as they are going through this armed struggle against prosperity party, shortage of resources, including water, food, all this, and their resistance and challenges and the commitment they are doing for bringing Oromia for the freedom. Okay, so that's the celebration. As you can see, very uh, sorry, very interesting, very encouraging. Uh, the morale is high, and they will give you the hope that Oromia will be free sooner than later if this force secured from the enemy forces with whatever means, and if it is managed well, uh, I have uh, I have confidence that uh, they will bring uh, the end of prosperity party in Ethiopia. First in Oromia, then in Ethiopia, in coordination with other liberation front fighters. So, Oromos, there is a bright future for you. There will be an end of atrocities, an end of lawlessness in Oromia, especially, an end of uh, mass arrest. There is a chance of for our political prisoners to be freed. Now, Prosperity Party is sitting on their head, on the neck of our Oromo political prisoners, and plus thousands and thousands of other Oromo prisoners. So this is one way to bring freedom for all these prisoners in Oromia. So you need to do, Oromos, back home and around the world. You need to do whatever you can to support this Oromo Liberation Army movement, their struggle for freedom. They are bleeding, they are dying for us. So do, I know you are doing, but do it more generously so they can handle these massive graduates plus massive new recruits into Oromo Liberation Army. So it's very encouraging, makes you proud of yourself. You think that you are already in a freedom country when you see how they celebrate uh, their graduation ceremony in a massive number and in a very protected area. So the leaders, all the leaders, they have to make sure they protect these forces from their enemies. Their enemies are watching. Their enemies are talking about how, on the ways to dismantle, to eliminate them. So they have to protect themselves. They have to do whatever they can and to manage this force so freedom can achieve for all Oromos who are suffering under Abiy Ahmed administration in Oromia. So congratulations, OLA fighters, new recruits. Good luck from concerned citizens. I hope we will see you at the end of your movement. We will celebrate in Finfinne in much better way. Congratulations again. So let's go to the other news and also appreciate Gergertu Media for sharing this. One dead, 58 in moderate to mild condition, while 22 in severe condition as a result of cholera outbreak in Bale zone. Gammachuu Shumee, Oromia Public Health Institute Emergency Management Director confirmed to Addis Standard that high number of cholera cases have been recorded in Dallo Mana Warada of Bale Zone in Oromia region. He told Addis Standard that laboratory samples were taken and the possibility of an outbreak is confirmed. He explained that cases started to be recorded from September 18, 2021. Since then, 80 patients have been identified, of which 53 of them are moderately sick, 22 are severely dehydrated, and 5 are in mild condition. There has been one death recorded, Gammachu explained. According to Gammachu, government officials at zonal and Warada levels with other stakeholders, including NGOs, have been engaged in various activities ranging from community awareness education to providing some supplies such as water treatment chemicals and filters to the local community to stop the prevalence of the outbreak, especially focusing on personal hygiene and clean water supplies. The residents do not have access to clean water, and the outbreak most probably might be linked to the situation, Gamachu said. He disclosed that a similar outbreak happened in Madda Walabu Warada in Bale zone 2 months ago. Cholera outbreak has frequently been happening in lowland areas of the region, especially in Bale area, Mr. Gamachu said. Answering questions about how the outbreak is a threat for nearby waradas or areas, Gamachu said that there is fear that the outbreak might spread to other areas if not contained. He, however, argued that his team and other stakeholders are working hard to contain it. The highest number of cases happened in one Kabale, whereas there are some mild cases in other 3 Kabales, he said. The regional official remarks were corroborated by the Ethiopian Institute of Public Health, EPHI, who declared a cholera outbreak in Dallo Manna Warada in the Bale zone. Masfin Wasson, the director of the Institute Disease Screening and Response Center, said there is a possibility of the occurrence of chikungunya virus outbreak in Dredoa, Somali, and Afar regions. He urged the public to be vigilant as there could be outbreak of the virus depending on climate change. He also called on the public in Oromia, Amara, and SNNPR regions to be vigilant in clearing waterlogged and swampy areas to prevent a possible outbreak of malaria. He disclosed discussions are underway with the Ministry of Health and Regional Health Bureau to identify areas of concern, intervene, and address situations accordingly. So credit at this standard. So there's cholera outbreak, and it's a serious issue in the Oromia region. And in the I don't know, last month or two, I also reported on more than 400,000 people facing hunger in Shamane and other areas. That news is quiet. I don't know if they got aid, humanitarian aid. Nobody's talking about those 400,000 plus people facing hunger in Oromia. It's most of the time the government media, they don't say, unless the international media expose and bring to the light. So we don't know what happened to those 400,000 people facing hunger. So plus this cholera outbreak. So it's nothing new in a new government formation in Oromia. They are in a honeymoon. They are in celebration. We don't expect no change at all. They will continue the bloodshed. They will continue their abuse of the laws. They don't respect the laws. They will abuse, all the treatments of our elders, teenagers. No hope in Oromia. The president is the same, Mr. Shimalis Abdisa. The change is, I think, the speaker of the house is she's also from old Opidio, but that's a change. And some changes. Saada Abdullahi and a new speaker, and it's nothing new, nothing hopeful for Oromos, nothing. These people will continue arresting our politicians and thousands of Oromos. They don't follow the rules. They keep shooting people and no accountability. So nothing, no hope. They can inaugurate, they can enjoy their honeymoon, but we don't expect change for the majority of Oromos. These are old Opidios now, uh, abusing the Oromo people with a new name, Prosperity Party. Nothing. These are the people, uh, you know, using all the resource against Oromos for the last 30 years. They just changed the name. They didn't change nothing. Maybe they got some uh, OLF members, inclusive, they just those who are sabotaging the Oromo liberation movement for many years, hidden in the organization, working against the success of that organization. That you can see that they are now part of Prosperity Party, informing Prosperity Party how to eliminate Oromo liberation army fighters, supporters, all these nationalists. So, but there is no hope. There is no hope. Prosperity Party is forming new government in Amara, in Oromia, in the southern part, and Gambela, whatever. Nothing. No hope. No hope. That will not solve the country's problem. In the same way, the Oromia problem will be solved with the struggle with the freedom fighters, and we have to stand with them. So Shimalis Abdisa, the same president, is the president of Oromia, and Saad Abdurrahman is the new speaker, and also one Oromo Liberation, former Oromo Liberation Army official, also included as a social. Some kind of office is given for him. Except that, all are Opidios, so we don't expect any change. Ethiopia to close Dublin embassy as Tigray conflict continues. Ethiopia to close its embassy in Ireland next month, with its responsibilities transferring to the Sub-Saharan country mission in London. The closure is one of more than 30 across the globe, along with a number of consulates, as the country of 90 million face major economic difficulties, compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic and the ongoing conflict in the northern state of Tigray, which has now become one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. Actually, we are more than 90 million now, about 115 million. Embassy staff in the affected mission have been recalled to the capital Addis Ababa. A number of diplomats who are from the Tigray region have refused to return, citing fear of arrest and stating that colleagues who did so have been jailed. Some diplomats have sought asylum in their host countries. That's a right decision, especially for the Tigray ethnic groups, because Abiy Ahmed is targeting them with the help of Isaias Afwerki and with the help of those Amara supporters. Tigrayans living in Ireland have held demonstration outside Leinster House each week since the daily return to highlight the growing humanitarian crisis in the region. Almost 2 million people have been displaced and more than 5 million need emergency food aid as famine begins to take hold. This week, the Tigray demonstration outside the Dail was watched by a counter-protest at the same time of supporters of the federal government of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. The government regrets the decision of the Ethiopian authority to close their embassy in Ireland, the Department of Foreign Affairs said in a statement. The ongoing conflict in Tigray is a significant concern, and Ireland has been to the fore in raising the crisis at the United Nations Security Council with the European Union and other partners. We have also conveyed our concerns directly to the Ethiopian authorities. In all cases, we have stressed the need for unimpeded humanitarian access, a ceasefire, and the need for dialogue leading to a political solution of the conflict. The Ethiopian government has criticized what it called international interference in its internal affairs, and Ireland in particular for its effort in raising the issue at the Security Council. Minister for Foreign Affairs Simon Coveney was to visit Ethiopia as part of a visit to the Horn of Africa in July, but it was cut from the itinerary. The department said that Ethiopia remains one of Ireland's most important partners in Africa and home to our largest bilateral development cooperation program, 32 million euro in 2020. Ireland's continued priority will remain supporting the needs of the most vulnerable people in Ethiopia, including those affected by conflict in Tigray and the neighboring regions. Due to the conflict, we have relocated funding to respond to the evolving humanitarian crisis. Through the Irish Aid Programme, we have so far provided over 3.2 million euro to support the humanitarian response in Tigray and the refugee response in neighboring Sudan through our trusted United Nations and NGO partners on the ground. In July, the government announced additional humanitarian funding of 2.75 million euro for Ethiopia to address hunger and insecurity throughout the country, including Tigray. Credit the Irish Times. So we appreciate Ireland support for Ethiopia to handle security and humanitarian crisis in that country. I know never happened in the history of Ethiopia, the closing of all these embassies, about 30. The Egypt embassy will be closing next month. So 30 total. Never happened in the history of Ethiopia. It is happening under Abiy Ahmed administration. The country is going down into the toilet, and some still standing behind Abiy Ahmed to continue the war and to continue other atrocities in that country instead of pushing him for a solution, challenging him on his war front and on the ways he's handling the country. They don't care. They're just sitting behind and forcing him to do all these bad things, and the country is going to the toilet. Yeah, in many fronts, economically, diplomatic isolation, and inflation, unemployment, all. all other issues. Very bad situation. But this guy, they are forming the government now. I don't know what kind of government they are forming. They care about only their power. They don't care about the country. They don't care about the people. They don't care about how they can feed their people, how can they educate, how they deal with health issues. They don't care. They care about their power. And some are okay with it. Okay. This is another bad news about Ethiopia. S&P push Ethiopia's rating into junk territory on delayed debt restructuring. The S&P Global logo is displayed on its office in the financial district in New York City, USA. September 24, Reuters. Rating agency S&P Global cut Ethiopia's sovereign rating to CCC+ from B- on Friday, citing heightened political instability and delays to debt restructuring. The escalation of the Tigray conflict, which broke out in November 2020, threatened the government's transformative reform agenda, S&P said in a statement. Last week, the Ethiopian government requested a new extended credit facility from the International Monetary Fund to replace an expired component of an existing lending program. Meanwhile, Ethiopia's Creditors Committee held its first meeting on September 16 in a bid to restructure its debts under the joint G20's common framework and help create stable economic fundamentals. S&P expects the country's domestic market to play an increasing dominant role in financing Ethiopia's budget deficit over the agency's forecast through 2024. The agency maintained its outlook for Ethiopia at negative, which reflects potential inclusion of commercial creditors in debt restructuring plans and increasing pressure on availability of external funding, credit Reuters. So Ethiopia is a very bad shape. That's why I say it's going to the toilet. Its finance is bad. It's globally isolated. No peace at home. Command post, war, hunger, cholera, instability, ethnic tension, high unemployment, too many problems under this leadership. That's why we call on him, but so far nobody is listening. We call on Ethiopians to demand the removal of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed instead of inaugurating him for the next 5 years. Meaningless. The country will be more, damaged under his leadership. Okay. Sudan repels Ethiopia's attack on border area. The Sudanese army repelled an attack by the Ethiopian army in the border area of Al-Fashqa, said a military statement on Sunday. Al-Tahir Abu Haja, Sudanese army spokesman, stated that the attack took place in Barakat sector of the disputed area. The Sudanese armed forces had repelled the incursion attempt and forced the Ethiopian forces to withdraw, said Abu Haja in a short statement. Relations between the two countries have been strained since November 2020, when the Sudanese army redeployed its forces in Al-Fashqa recovering about 2 million acres of fertile land inside the Sudanese border cultivated with the support of armed militiamen. 3 months ago, closed the door linking the two countries after an attack on the Sudanese army by the Ethiopian militiamen. On 22 September, local officials from the two sides met the Ethiopian border town of Matama to discuss the reopening of the crossing point. The Ethiopian side requested to open the crossing point and called for joint cooperation to settle the issue of detainees from both sides. A source close to the meeting said the Ethiopian officials spoke again about the presence of Tigrayan fighters in the refugee camps, a matter that the Sudanese side strongly rejected. Credit Sudan Tribune. So Sudan is claiming the repelling of Ethiopian forces at the border area. This is again trouble in Somalia by Al-Shabaab. This is repeated suicide attacks and the deaths of civilians, endless in Somalia too. Suicide car bomb targeting convoy in Somalia capital killed at least 8, officials said. A suicide car bomb killed at least 8 people in the Somali capital on Saturday, September 25, at a street junction near the president's palace, police said. And Al-Qaeda linked Al-Shabaab said it was behind the attack, which targeted a convoy going into the palace. Police spokesperson Abdul Fattah Eden Hassan told reporters at the scene of the blast the casualties could be higher since some of the dead and wounded had been taken away by their relatives. Al-Shabaab is behind the blast. They killed 8 people, including a soldier, a mother, and 2 children. Al-Shabaab massacres civilians, he said. Muhammad Ibrahim Malimu, the government spokesperson, said among those killed was Hibak Abukar, an advisor of women and human rights affairs in Prime Minister Mohammed Hussein Robles' office. She was one of the pillars of Prime Minister's office for Women's Affairs, he said on his Facebook account. It was not immediately clear if Abukar was in the convoy or if she just happened to be close by when the blast happened. Al-Shabaab confirmed it was behind the attack. The group, which wants to overthrow the government and impose its own strict interpretation of Islamic law, frequently carries out such bombings. Al-Mujahideen, driving a suicide car bomb, targeted a convoy of cars going into the presidential palace. Abdi Aziz Abu Musa, Al-Shabaab military operation spokesperson, told Reuters by phone. A Reuters witness at the scene of the attack reported seeing 7 cars and 3 rickshaws destroyed by the blast. The whole junction covered in blood. This is horrible, horrible. Credit or Reuters. So these things keep happening, and Somalians, they have to figure out how to end this continued civilian deaths and repeated suicide attacks. So they got to figure out how to end it, how to deal with Al-Shabaab. Okay, the last part for today's reading. FDA approved first COVID-19 vaccine. The United States Food and Drug Administration approved the first COVID-19 vaccine. The vaccine has been known as the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine and will now be marketed as Comirnaty for the prevention of COVID-19 disease in individuals 16 years of age and older. So this is a good news. Just like flu shots, we're gonna take COVID-19 shots in the future. So to protect ourselves, to prevent ourselves from future COVID-19 virus. So this is a good news. The vaccine continued to be available under emergency use authorization, EUA, including for individuals 12 through 15 years of age and for the administration of a third dose in certain immunocompromised individuals. The FDA approval of this vaccine is a milestone as we continue to battle the COVID-19 pandemic. While this and other vaccines have met the FDA rigorous scientific standards for emergency use authorization, as the first FDA-approved COVID-19 vaccine, the public can be very confident that this vaccine meets the high standards for safety, effectiveness, and manufacturing quality the FDA requires of an approved product, said Acting FDA Commissioner Janet Woodcock. While millions of people have already safely received COVID-19 vaccines, we recognize that for some, the FDA approval of a vaccine may now instill additional confidence to get vaccinated. Today's milestone puts us one step closer to altering the course of this pandemic in the United States. Comirnaty contains messenger RNA or mRNA, a kind of genetic material. The messenger RNA is used by the body to make a mimic of one of the proteins in the virus that cause COVID-19. The result of a person receiving this vaccine is that their immune system will ultimately react defensively to the virus that causes COVID-19. The messenger RNA is Comirnaty. Comirnaty is only present in the body for a short time and is not incorporated into nor does it alter an individual's genetic material. Comirnaty has the same formulation as the emergency use authorization vaccine and is administered as a series of 2 doses 3 weeks apart. So credit Daily News Egypt. So that's all I have for the reading part. Thank you again, and let's see some other videos and finish today's presentation. Okay, sorry, let me see. There we go. Let's see.
I now give the floor to His Excellency Demeke Mokennon, Deputy Prime Minister of Ethiopia. disrupting the unsuspecting men and women in uniform were slain. The government of Ethiopia took the necessary measures to avert the grave danger imposed on us. Mr. President, while the government was addressing humanitarian needs, the disruptors applied their cruel design to aggravate human suffering. We were also caught by surprise and, to be honest, unprepared for the twisted propaganda campaign. Little did we know the power of privatized politics and foreign policy that clouds the truth from policy decisions. The criminal enterprise and its enablers created and advertised horrific imagery of faked incidents, as if the real mystery of our people is not enough. Storylines are created to match not the facts, but preconceived stereotypical attitudes. The government of Ethiopia, meeting out its obligation to fulfill humanitarian needs, the declaration of humanitarian ceasefire, the commissioning of investigations, and accountability measures have not mitigated the propaganda campaigns. At this stage, we are nearly convinced humanitarian assistance is a pretext for advancing political considerations. Accused by agenda and revenue-driven media, convicted by misguided politics, we are now facing a unilateral coercive measure. Ethiopia opposed coercive measure when it was applied against others. We advised against its application on Ethiopia. Prescriptions and punitive measures never helped improve situations or relations. Mr. President, the prudent measures we will continue to take are commensurate with the existential challenges we face. Despite the undue pressure, we shall live up to the solemn obligation to preserve sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the political independence of Ethiopia. While cooperation and concern from our friends is welcome, we underline the need to employ constructive approach, cultivate trust, and create understanding. Attempts to extend support or even opine on an internal issue of a state requires full understanding about the complexity of the problem. It shall be noted the challenge we are facing is not limited to the boundaries of Ethiopia. The entire region is facing the destructive path paved for it by this group. Supporting Ethiopia overcome this criminal group is helping sustain regional peace. Dialogue has always been our preferred course of action. Accordingly, Ethiopia is open to candid initiatives for peace. In this connection, we will work with the African Union and the High Representative for the Horn of Africa towards an Ethiopia-led national dialogue. We only hope the African Union will be given the space to apply its own wisdom. I also underscore my government's unreserved commitment for the provision of humanitarian assistance and facilitate the operation of our humanitarian partners that adhere to the principle of neutrality, independence, and humanity, and the laws of the country. Apart from this, no excuse will justify any attempt to intervene in our internal affairs. Mr. President, had it been for the plan of the internal and external destabilizers, Ethiopia would have turned into rebels where the greedy and the archaic feast and thrive. Not only that, the political map of the Horn of Africa would have altered, worsening its existing volatility. With the resilience of its people and the foundational cultural and religious diversity that made up of Ethiopian society, Ethiopia will continue overcoming its adversaries. Ethiopia will always be a beacon of freedom and symbol of peace. As a nation that had never posed threat to security of other states, we will maintain our support to regional and global stability. At this historic juncture, Ethiopia demands and Ethiopia deserves a similar cooperation it's extended to others in the aftermath of attacks targeting their institutions. Mr. President, the political and security landscape in Africa is on a path of adversity. Forcible overthrow of governments, joint military exercise, aggression, renewed appetite for intervention in sovereign countries, subversion and mercenarism, normalized and renewed scramble for natural resource, secret military pacts, geopolitical competitions, and others are becoming pervasive. Unless we swiftly change course, this will be yet another round to destabilize Africa and disenfranchise Africans in the determination of our destiny. We hope there will be more countries to lift the banner of multilateralism rather than the vagaries of unilateralism. Accordingly, Ethiopia stands ready to avail bilateral mechanisms and diplomatic solutions to resolve the border dispute with Sudan. It is incumbent upon our two governments to work for peace for the sake of our people that have the strongest bond of fraternity. Mr. President, the past year has also seen a milestone for the people of Ethiopia. Our experiment with democracy ascended one level with a free, fair, peaceful, and credible election with an unprecedented level of voter turnout. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, a hydroelectric dam project we fully financed, underwent a second year filling. Hopefully, we inspired others to develop local capability to plan, finance, and complete renewable energy projects. However, our humble attempt to light the house of millions of Ethiopians and create hope for our youth is politicized before global bodies. This people's project also received unending threats. Ironically, we are accused and threatened for drinking from our water. On the matter of the Nile and the Gerd, our confidence is in the might of the truth, wisdom, and justice that has always defined our path for cooperation. The generational desire to use our natural resource will not be stopped by a colonial legacy and monopolistic cause. We hope our negotiating partners are prepared for a win-win outcome under the African-led process. Mr. President, I would like to conclude my statement with a very important note on the role of my country in peacekeeping. Our troops successfully completed missions in Darfur and Abyei. They paid the ultimate sacrifice in the most isolated mission areas, facing active intercommunal clashes, unconventional warfare methods, border disputes, and unabated administrative obstructions. Our troops have done justice to the most cherished name of their country through their service and sacrifice. I pay them my respects and express our pride. With the impending transition of the peacekeeping mission in Abyei, I would like to convey our best wishes for our two neighbors to amicably resolve their territorial disputes. We hope the sacrifice we made will not be in vain. I thank you, Mr. President, and assure you of Ethiopia's full support for successful completion of your presidency of hope. Thank you. አመሰግናለሁ።
Okay, that's part of
I thank the Deputy Prime Minister of
Mokennon,
Ethiopia
Deputy
for
Prime
his
Minister of
statement.
Ethiopia speech to the United Nations. It's not the whole speech. Just take a little bit part.
We believe Blackstone can create value by supporting the fight against climate change. We see this as a huge investment opportunity, not only to improve companies, but also to invest in the solutions the broader economy is going to need to transition to clean energy.
Okay, this advertisement.
Now I'm going to get my booster shot, and right here, and the major is going to give me the shot.
So this is President Joe Biden getting the third round, which is, I call it, booster shot. So just be careful if you're scared of needles and shots. We all gonna get it again when it's available, but now it's for seniors and for immunocompromised people. This is a third shot, or booster shot recommended after 8 or 9 months of the second shot.
She's going to get one. Not, I think she's teaching that, but she's going to get one, yes.
Mr. President, what do you say to world health leaders like the World Health Organization who say wealthy nations should help more countries without vaccinations get vaccinated before they can booster here and there?
We are helping. We're doing more than every other nation in the world combined. We're going to have well over 1,100,000,000 shots, and we're going to continue going. We're going to do our part. We've also given a great deal of funding to COVAX, which is the vehicle that does this. So we have plenty of opportunities to make sure we get everyone in the world to play our part, the largest part in the world, of getting everyone vaccinated.
How many Americans need to be vaccinated for us to go back to normal? What is the percentage of total vaccinations that have to be deployed?
Well, I think we get the vast majority, like is going on in some industries and some schools, 97, 98%. I think we're awful close. But I'm not the scientist. I think, but one thing for certain, a quarter of the country can't go unvaccinated, and that's not continue to have a problem.
Any progress on a reconciliation deal today, Mr. President? How close do you think you are?
You know me, I'm more an optimist. I think things are going to go well. I think we're going to get it done. And I have meetings tonight, tomorrow, and for the next little bit.
What is the state for your agenda and your presidency and what's happening on the
Victory is what's at stake.
Mr. President, how did you define success this week legislatively? How did you define success legislatively by the end of this week?
Well, it may not be by the end of the week. I hope it's by the end of the week. But as long as
Okay, there is one more video, then that's the end.
The debt ceiling, continued resolution, and the two pieces of legislation. If we do that, the country's going to be in great shape. Thank
What's
you.
your message to Democrats as you have these calls? What's your message to Democrats, Mr. President?
Okay, he's done. He
Now
got
with
his
the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3 on Verizon 5G, there's no more fear of
booster
missing
shot.
out.
He's
Movie
done.
on the go while acting in a movie.
There's a fuel
Up to 90%
shortage
of
in
British
UK.
fuel stations ran dry across major English cities on Monday after panic buying deepened a supply chain crisis triggered by a shortage of truckers that retailers are warning could batter the UK economy. Boris Johnson is considering emergency plans to deploy the army to dry fuel tankers amid petrol pump chaos. Wars have broken out on petrol station forecourts over the weekend as frustrated drivers clash while queuing at pumps, turning on each other in shocking scenes. There are fears the turmoil could deepen this week as millions of Brits get into their cars and head to the office. Petrol Retailers Association Chairman Brian Madison told the Mirror chaos at pumps could go on at least a further week, maybe 10 days.
But if they keep going and buying a tank load full, then there's no chance, because with 36 million vehicles on the road and 2 billion litres of storage, that's far more than the industry can cope with.
I've literally been waiting for petrol for 3 days. Like, all weekend I've had no petrol, literally on zero, but we've been driving around trying to get him to school and trying to get petrol at the same time. So it's just a bit ridiculous, but what can we do?
3 days looking for fuel.
To be at work at 8 o'clock, what time is right now? It's terrible. Tried to come here last night, same thing. Went to 3 different petrol stations, all closed.
The PM was urged to act now to avoid even worse chaos as petrol retailers despair at the shortage of fuel. Valerie Brown, The Sun.
Okay. So we have a very bad one when I was visiting Ethiopia last time. Very, very, very long line for fuel. That's ridiculous. Very ridiculous. That shortage of fuel is not because of shortage of truck drivers like we seen in UK. The Ethiopia one is shortage of fuel for Ethiopia purchasing power, lack of purchasing power, and a few gas stations. You will be shocked by the line of 3-wheel taxis and other vehicles, lined up to get a fuel. So the UK can be resolved. They are hiring foreign drivers, so it could be resolved if they have more truck drivers. That's easy. That's easy. They have to, allow immigrants from other countries instead of chasing them out. Let them come in. If there's shortage of population, they have to adjust. So that's all I have for today. And Deputy Prime Minister Demeke Mokennon speech is most of his complaint against the United States, even though he didn't mention the name. The Western nation and the NGOs, telling us to resolve the conflict in a peaceful and through dialogue, but they are complaining, claiming like this is internal issue. This is internal issue. Don't interfere. This is beyond the internal issue. Ethiopia is committing humanitarian catastrophe, war crimes, and bloodshed is still happening. So Ethiopia is not a symbol of peace and a beacon of democracy, not anymore. Under current system, no. They have to, open the door for engagement, for inclusiveness, release all political prisoners, and respect the rule of law everywhere. They don't respect the rule of law. They can arrest you, they can release you just by the wish of the Prime Minister. It's not supposed to be that way. The judges should be free to see the cases and, they sentence you based on your crimes, not by political upper hands maneuver. So there is lawlessness. There is grave human rights violations in Oromia especially. People are taken from jail and killed, body dragged on the street, family house burned just by claiming your son is in with armed group, and a command post, restrictions of movement in Amara region, bloody war still going on. The Prime Minister, should have used the chance to call for peace and a dialogue in this General Assembly, but he didn't use it. He vowed to continue the war and claiming, internal affairs, threaten others not to talk about Ethiopia. So this is their intention to continue the war, and I hope the world lead is watching them. The world lead is ready to impose some sanctions, so the situation in Ethiopia will be resolved very soon. Thank you again for joining me, and please share, comment on my video, like my video, subscribe to my video channel, so we can be the voice for voiceless. Thank you. Be safe, and so long, everyone.